Okay.
The first person that I courted is not the person to whom I'm married. So, maybe we don't hear God accurately all the time. You can live with your own also. Is that okay? So, because, yes, because some of you are feeling like, I gave her my word. You are walking yourself into a dungeon. Because I said, I gave her my word. I even remember that time. They were bullying me. People bullied me. They said, hey, good man, he will swear to his own heart. I said, I have not taken any oath. It's just, I told her I want to marry you. She said, I agree. We have not yet, there's no oath yet. After the wedding, I would have sworn to my heart. So that whatever I find inside, I cannot renege on it. But before that wedding, Abamandam. I was so convinced that was God's will for me. When I went to meet my father in the Lord, when that relationship was to start, he called me by my local name. Sekele. I said, sir. He said, you cannot marry that girl. I was in love. You cannot marry that girl will not suffice. I was in love. I asked for reasons. He didn't give me any reasons. At that time, he had not even set eyes on the lady. I said, how can you disapprove before you have even seen? My blood was hot. I bullied him and mounted pressure. Eventually, he gave his blessing. So the story is Moriah. When the relationship eventually crashed, and it crashed at a very, very bad time. We had gone far, met families, had plans. The two families were aware, so we had gone pretty far. But until you are married, you are not married. Are you with me? If you're in a relationship that is not meant to be, it's not too far until you are married. It's not too far. Now, because hear me and hear me very well. When you get married, even if you find out that she is a witch and she flies at night, it is not a biblically allowed ground for divorce. As in, even if she tells you, I am a witch and I fly at night. Because when they asked Jesus, can a man divorce his wife for any cause? Every cause. Basically, give us the grounds on which a person can divorce. The only allowance Jesus made was porneia, sexual immorality. That's the only allowance. So the best case that you can have is separation. You can leave the house, but you can't leave the marriage. So even though you are living in another city and the person is living in another city, there is a covenant. So if they have turned you into a punching bag in the house, we are not saying stay in the house. You can leave the house, but you won't leave the marriage. You are saying, hey, so should I die? That's why we say, if you are not in the house, you will not die. The problem we are trying to solve is abuse. So we take you from the sin of harm. That's how to be faithful to scripture. So don't come back later and tell us that you made a mistake. If you made a mistake, own it with your full chest before you come to the altar and resolve it. If God could not stop you and we pronounce you man and wife, it's the will of God. That's if you want to be a Christian. If God could not stop it till we pronounce you man and wife, it is the will of God. The only thing that can dissolve it is sexual immorality and death. And the sexual immorality is not commanded. Is that it is an allowed ground. They didn't say, if your spouse commits immorality, divorce. No. It's like, if at all you want to find any excuse by which you may take a divorce, it is only if she adds adultery to witchcraft. You can pick the adultery and use it. Are you with me? So when I went and told my father in the Lord, hey, this thing is not working. He said, are you sure there's nothing we can do? Are you sure? I said, just tell me I told you. My point is this. When I went to the Lord, because I did everything to make sure that relationship stood. When I went to the Lord still mentioned to me Moriah. Now, the first time God told me to meet him on Moriah was when I was going to 100 level. This is now, I don't know. This is now maybe 6 years later. This is now like 6 years later. I'm done from the university. I'm done serving when this is now happening. So 6 years later, the Lord still talked to me about Moriah. That was what helped me to live with that relationship that broke, that Moriah. And what God told me in the room that day when I was starting 100 level, I did not understand the full scope of the explanation he gave me as to why I ended up with geography instead of microbiology. 6 years later, when that relationship crashed and God recalled Moriah, some of the details I heard in that room that day now began to make sense as to why the first relationship did not work. And it is what worked that worked, because this was what worked.